Hello everyone and welcome to another supplementary coding video. My name is Kasanas. Guys, in this video we're going to explore the for loop. All right, let's get started. Okay, guys, in this video, we're going to explore several different loops. We're going to start off with the for loop and the for each loop in this particular video. If we have time, we'll also move on to while and do while loops. I'm not sure if we'll have time for all of them. But first of all, let's talk about what a loop is. Basically, what a loop allows you to do is execute the same code multiple times without the need to kind of copy it over again. So you don't have to have it written multiple times, but you're going to execute that code within the same block multiple times as long as a particular set of conditions are true. And like I said, we're going to start off by looking at the for loop. And I've got a game object right here that I've already created, and I've got a script called the for loop script that I've already got kind of created here. There's nothing in here yet except for the script itself, obviously, like the start and the update function that normally comes with it. But I've also got a declaration of an integer array, and I have in the start, I have actually gone through and I have assigned the integer array 10 elements. So it's going to be a 10 element array. We could obviously change that as much as we need to, but for now, we're going to use the arrays to kind of explore how the for loops work. It's not the only thing you'd use a loop for, so this is really important. I'm just going to use this as an example. Anytime that you had code that you wanted executed multiple times, you could use a for loop. All right, so let's start off right away, and we're going to create a couple of functions here. We're going to create a function that will generate a random value and put it into each element of the array. So let's start off with a void function. We're not going to return anything. We're just going to literally manipulate the int array that I've already created. So there's no reason to return anything. And we will call this the create array function. All right, we'll just call it that. It won't take any parameters. We'll just be utilizing the integer array that I've already created. So inside of the create array, all I want to happen is I want to assign a value to each and every one of the elements within the array. And we already talked about how we could do this. If I wanted to, I could say int array. I don't want to say new array. I could say int array. Don't want to say any of this. I auto-corrected. I automatically didn't autocorrect. I don't even want this int array here. So let's start this all over again. I could say int array value element 0 is equal to 0. I could go through and I could write this each time. I could go and copy this, and I could say, okay, the next location, oops, didn't copy properly, copy and print. The next location is equal to 10 or whatever I wanted. I could go through and I could write each one of these elements out manually. But this is really time consuming. And let's say that I didn't want to, I'm going to say create random array, just so we can kind of cover a couple different things here. So if I'm doing this, if I'm going through and I'm putting in each of these values, random value, this is going to be quite time consuming. I have 10 of them. I have to do this 10 times. If I wanted to create a random value located in this location 0, I could use the math function random. Oops, I didn't spell it right. Awesome. So random dot, and then I could use the random dot range. Okay, so as I started typing random, I put the dot in there. It gave me the option. This is a function from the mathf library, and what it's going to do is allow us to produce a random value between a range that I'm going to define here. So I can go ahead and I'm going to put my brackets in place, and that's going to tell me there's two options. I can either create floats, okay, which are minimum inclusive, maximum inclusive, or I can create a random range that are integers that are min inclusive and max exclusive. That means that it'll never hit the maximum value. Okay, in our particular case, I'm taking in integers for an array. I'm going to use this version right here, and I can just put in a value here. So let's say I put a value between negative 100 and 100. And what this is going to do, this is going to assign a random value between negative 100, a whole value, because it's an integer, between negative 100 and 100, and it's going to assign it to the array position 0. And like I said, I could go through and I could copy this each time. I could copy this again, and I could put it here, and then I could just change this value to 1. And I could do this 10 times, right? If I have 10 elements in my array, I could do this 10 times. And it will go through and it will generate a random value for that particular element location. But what if I didn't have 10 elements? What if I actually had, 5,000 elements? It would get really tedious. If you want to make any changes to it, it would get really tedious. So I don't want to actually go through and do this manually. That's what for loops are for. So let's take a look at how the for loop works. I'm going to hit a couple spaces in here, and we're going to start adding in the for loop. So the for loop itself is going to allow us to encapsulate code within its braces, and it will operate that code, it'll execute that code for a particular amount of time as long as a particular condition is true. So as long as the condition is true, it'll continue to operate that code. So let's start typing here for, and that is the keyword, so for. The first part of a for loop is a declaration of a value. So I'm going to say for int I. Okay. And I'm going to start off by int I like this. And I'm going to then declare as long as, so I'll say it's actually equal to 0. So int I is equal to 0. And then as long as I is less than or greater than or whatever I want, some kind of conditions, we took a look at conditions in an earlier episode. As long as some type of conditions are true, it's going to continue to operate the code. Now in this particular case, it is giving me an opportunity here. It's saying that if I is less than the length of our integer array, it's going to continue this condition as long as this is true. I'm going to hit tab here a couple times just so we get it in place, and let's back this up. Okay, and let's add in our second brace. So we've got ourselves our code location. Why is this not kicking in the way it should kick in? This should have kicked in the way I wanted to, like this, and it didn't. All right. So let's take a look here. What we've done for an integer value of I, as long as I is less than the length of our integer array, it's going to then operate the code within here. And each time it's going to increment the value of I. So it goes through the first loop and it says, okay, I is equal to 0. I is less than the length of our array because we've said our array has a value of 10 locations. So this is going to actually cause an error, but we'll take a look at this in 1 second. I'll do this. I'll cause the error and then I'll explain it. So integer I, as long as it's less than our value of the length, then it's going to operate this code and it's going to increment the value of I. So it goes through, does the code, then it says I is equal to 1. Well, I is still less than our length. I becomes 2, it goes around the code, I becomes 3, and so on and so on and so on. It's going to go around and around and around until I is no longer smaller than the length of, less than the length of our integer array. And at that point, it's going to jump out of the loop and say, okay, this condition is no longer true, and it's going to break out. Okay, so let's do this. Let's grab this code that we wrote earlier. Okay, I'm going to control copy this, and I'm going to add it in right here. Now, instead of saying the value of 0, I can remove this, and instead of it being a hard-coded value of 0, I can put the value of I in here. So it's going to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way around. It's going to keep doing this over and over and over again. Let me get rid of this because we're not going to use this code anymore. It's going to go round and round until eventually I no longer matches our conditions, and then it's going to break out. But this is going to create values for all of our objects. Let's have it do a couple of things in here. Let's have it print the value of I. So we'll say quotations, I is, and then we'll add a space, and then we'll just say plus, and we'll say I in here, and we'll add in our semicolon. And we will also down here print the value in that location. So the value of in the array itself. So print our int, we'll say quotations, array location is space, and then we'll just add in plus here, and we'll print our int. Oops, I didn't put plus, and we'll put our int array and the value of I. Okay, so if we save this now, I'm going to file save this. So right now, this is not actually doing anything. We don't actually have a call to this particular create array. But if we go up into our start function, right up here in our start function, after we've defined the size of our array, and we actually make a call for it, create random array. It doesn't take any parameters. It doesn't require a return type. So we're going to say create random array, and we're going to file save this. In doing so, what we're hoping to see is it's going to print out our array. So let's check out and see. All right, let's get our console up. Let's clear our errors, and let's hit play. Okay, so we've got a bunch of things in here. Let's see what it says. All right, it says that our array position 0 has a value of negative 38, 1 has 57, negative 3, 24, 72, 81, 45, 82, 47. So we have filled all of our array locations. And because of the way we set up our condition right here, because of the way we set up our conditions, once it hit the value of, it was 9, once it was going to the value of 10, as it looped around, it said, okay, no more, and it stopped. Now, we could have made an error here if we had set this up so that we were going beyond the length of our array. Let's say we had said less than or equal to I. This is an option as far as our conditional statements are concerned. I was less than or equal to the length of our array. What this would do is it would go through and it would actually get to the 10th position in our array, so from 0 to 10 instead, and it would throw an error. It would say, whoa, 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 we've gone too far. And it would throw that error that we saw previously because it would be trying to access memory that was outside of the memory that we made available to our array. All right, awesome. So that's pretty good. Let's just move this out of the way for now. Let's stop this, and then let's run it one more time. So the last value was negative 47. Let's clear this and check it out to make sure the randomization is working. All right, in this particular time, our last value was minus 20. So we can see that, yes, the randomization is working really well. Great. Okay, so let's drag this back here and make a couple of quick changes to this. Instead, we're not going to print this out every time. We can already see that it's working. So we're going to get rid of these kind of debug print statements I put in here. And we're just going to call this particular function and just simply show, just have it actually generate the random values for our array. Now we want to try and create ourselves a function that maybe prints out our array. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We can say void. Again, we don't need anything returned. And we're going to say print array. All right. And again, we won't take anything. Or we could actually pass in the array value if we wanted to. That might be a good idea in this particular case. We don't have to. But we'll actually, maybe we will, just so I can show you that you can actually pass arrays in as parameters, because we didn't explore that before. So I'm actually going to pass in an integer array that I'll simply call array. And we'll do this. And all we want to do in this particular case is print the array out. And once again, we can do exactly the same thing. We can do exactly the same thing with our for loop. All right. So let's grab this. We're going to copy it and we're going to put it out here. But this time, instead of, and we'll change some of these values. So instead of using our array from before, we're going to use the array we're passing in, its length. And instead of generating values like this, we're just going to print out array I. Okay, and this is just going to hit every line. It's going to print out the array. So we're not actually making this look pretty. It's just going to go through and it's going to print out every individual line of our array, right? So it's going to all be on separate lines. It's not going to print it out nice and neat or anything like that. So this is going to go through and it's going to print out each one. So I'm going to file save this. Save all that. I'm going to come up here into my start function. And after I've gone through and created my array, I'm going to call the print array function. And I'm going to pass in the int array exactly as it's suggested here. And what we should see is the randomized values that are coming out. So let's file save this and check it all. All right, let's move this out of the way. Okay, guys, sorry. This is an insert. Something went wrong with the video recording at this particular location. So I'm just going to put things back how they were so you can kind of see and then explain the additional code that I wrote. Otherwise, there's a big jump in the video itself. So here we are with our print array. We're calling print array and it's going through and it's actually printing out the array unedited or like unformatted. All right, so I'm just going to make sure this is saved. File save this. Move this out of the way. Let's clear this and hit play. Okay, there we go. We can see that the array is being printed out one line at a time. Now, the other part of the video that's missing is where I changed it, so that's not what was happening anymore. So let me just get rid of this. I'm just going to comment this part out and explain to you. Oops, I put the wrong thing there. I'm just going to comment to this section of this for loop right here and explain to you this code down here, which is the code that is actually missing from the video. All I was doing here in this particular code is I wanted to set it up so that it was edited a little bit, so that it was formatted a little bit. So what I did is instead of printing out one line at a time, all I did is I concatenated the string with the array value, and then I printed out the entire string at the end. So right here you can see that I've got the for loop. It's the same for loop. It's exactly identical in every way. The only thing that's different is instead of printing the array each time, I concatenate the value of the array location to a string, and then I print that entire string out. All right, let's file save this, move it out of the way, and then we'll have caught up. Okay, let's clear our warnings and let's hit play. All right, so exactly as we expected, what we're seeing here is we are getting this concatenated value. We're getting random values here all on a single line. Now, let me just stop this. The only reason I did this was to demonstrate to you that you could do other things within this code. It doesn't have to necessarily just be something to do with array. Here inside of our for loop, we were concatenating values together within a string. You can put any code at all that you want within these braces, and it will execute this code over and over and over again. All right, what I want to do now is take a look at an idea of nesting fours within fours. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a couple of spaces in here, and I'm going to create a brand new void function that I'm going to call print multi-row array. And it's going to take in a value, let's call it int x, where x is going to be the number of rows that we have associated with our multi-row array. So this is the number of rows. I'm going to start off with a for loop here, and I'm going to use, again, we'll just use our int I, and we're going to have it go through exactly as it says here. I'm going to use exactly what it says here. So it says I'm going to go through from 0 to x value, and we're going to pass the x value in, and it's going to increment it each time. And what do I want to do inside of here? Well, I want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to generate what I want this first loop to do is generate multiple arrays. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this one here, this create a random array. All right, so let's just use that. Down here in the code, we're going to call our create random array. It doesn't take anything. So this is just going to go through x times and create x number of random arrays, constantly overwriting the int array that we create at the top. But what I want to do is I want to go through and I want to utilize the code in this print array as well. Now, I can do it. I could just call this print array. It's probably the easiest thing to do. But the entire point of this is I want to demonstrate for you how nested for loops work. So what I want to do is inside of this same function, what I want to do is I want to use this same kind of code. So I'm going to grab some of this stuff first of all. It's going to give me some errors, but that's okay. Let me just grab this for loop first of all. It doesn't know what my string is. It doesn't know what array is or anything like that. So as soon as I plop this in here, it's going to give me a bunch of errors like, well, I don't know what you're talking about here, and that's okay. And then random is ambiguous. Oh, it added in this at the top. I don't want that. Let me get rid of that. So what it did there, when I added in some code for some reason, it added in an additional library. There we go. So it's gone now. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it added an additional library that I didn't want, and then it was giving me an error saying that the random dot range that I had here was causing an issue because it didn't know where it was getting it from. So I just removed that extra library. Okay, let's see though. We got a bunch of other errors in here. Now, first of all, it doesn't like the fact that we have declared an integer I up here, and inside of the braces of our first for loop, we still have another integer I. It doesn't like that. It's like, no, you cannot have multiple integer I's within the same braces. So I'm going to say instead, I'm going to call this one J. I'm going to change this to J. I'm going to change this to J. So now our for loop now is only working with the values of J. It doesn't know what my string is, okay, because we declared it up here. So let's just grab this. We're going to say, we'll declare our my string, and we'll declare it as soon as we come in. So now we actually have a string that we're declaring. And what we want to do is we want to set our string equal to a nothing each time we create this array. So I'm just going to boop, pop it in here in my first for loop. So every time we come into the for loop, we're going to reset our string to nothing, to empty, and we're going to create our array. Down here, we want to use the same array that we were using up top. So we're going to say it's our int array. I think is what we called it. Yes, it is. And int array here, int array. Okay, so let's take a look at exactly what we've done here. Inside of our print multi-row array, we are feeding in a value of x that's going to define the number of rows we have. Our string value is declared, so we are setting aside some space within memory for a string value, for a string parameter. Sorry, a string variable. We then go into our first for loop, and the for loop is going to run x number of times. And each time it runs, it's going to reset the string to empty, and it's going to create a random array. And then afterwards, there's a nested for loop, and it's going to go through and it's going to print out. Let's actually make this look a little prettier by getting rid of that. It's going to print out a line that is the array itself. It's going to have, when we're done, we're going to have X number of lines. Each time it comes out of that for loop, it's going to print a string. Okay, so we're going to have several different lines of prints. Okay, let's file save this. Let's go up to the top here, and inside of this, instead of creating a random array, we're going to actually remove both of these. So comment this out, and instead we are going to call our, print multi-row array, and let's have it print 5 times. All right, so it's going to go through and it's going to print a line, 5 lines of different arrays. All right, let's file save this, and let's move it out of the way and check and see what happens. All right, let's clear this and hit play. Okay, so let's take a look what we got here. We have 1, 2, 3. Oh, it didn't work the way we thought, and I'm going to check out and I'm going to show you exactly why. So I made an error here. We did not actually get random values. We got -30, 84, 82. So all the values are exactly the same. Let's go back to our code and see what I did. I know what I did, but let me show you exactly what went wrong. If we scrub down to our print array here, right here, we left the value of I. We didn't change it to a value of J. So what's happening at this point in time is it's going back, and whatever the first position, second position, it's only printing the values in the first, in the 0th, first, second, third, fourth positions of the new array each time. So instead, let's change this to, not K, to J. Now it's going to be looking at the values of this for loop instead of this for loop. Let's file save this and try it one more time. Let's move this out of the way. Let's clear our warnings and let's hit play. Now what we should be seeing is randomized values across our 5 array. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It went through 5 times, and each time you can see that it generated a different set of values. All right, we're going to take a look at one more idea as a for loop, or an option for for. It's called for each. We're going to take a look at that, and it's actually specifically for use within an array. Let's just drag this back here. Now, the for each loop is designed specifically for its use with an array. Instead of having to go through and specify this, the for each loop allows it to consider how long an array or how the length of a particular array and do some kind of functionality. Okay, so let's actually just try getting rid of this particular loop. I'm just going to comment out this for loop where we're actually printing stuff. Let's do this, and let's get rid of this one here with my */. All right, so we've now commented out this for loop, and instead we're going to use a for each loop because we're working with an array. Let's take a look at the difference in the two. So the for each loop starts with the words for each, like this, and what it does is it explores the size of an integer and operates on something based on the size of the array itself. So I'm going to put in here in my brackets. It's going to ask me to declare something. So I'm going to say here in my bracket, I'm going to say int value, and I've decided int value because it is an integer array that we're working with. We're working with an integer array. So for every integer value in array, I want it to do something. All right. So for every integer value in int array, all right, so I've specified here the array. All right, so for every integer value in int array, I want it to do something. And I'm just going to do this in line here. I'm going to simply do this. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to spit it out here. And I don't want to go through like this. I don't want to actually go through and print the J value because we no longer have a J value. So for every value within here, we want to add instead a value. So instead of a value. So instead of having that loop that we had gone through previously, instead it's just going to take the value in the integer array each time and it's going to add it into the string. So all I've done here is instead of using the for loop, I've used this specialty for each loop that works very well with arrays. All right, let me file save this. So I'm saving all. No errors. Great. Let's move this out of the way. Let's clear. And what we're expecting to see is exactly the same thing we saw last time. Let's hit play. All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, each one made up of random values. So let's really quickly look over the for each. Oh, let me stop this first. Let's really quickly look over this for each again one more time just to see exactly what we did. The for loop is exactly the same. We went through and created our random array each time. The for each loop has the keyword for each. Afterwards, you declare whatever's inside of that particular array we're looking at. In our particular case, it was the integer values. It's an array of integers, so I declared int value inside of int array, and all I did is add that value. We went through each of the values. I didn't have to worry about the length of it or anything like that. It knows how long it is because we've told it the array it's using is doing all that internally. For each value in the integer array, add it to this string and print it out. That's all we did. It's very similar to the for loop. In this particular case, it just works very, very well. It's designed specifically for use with arrays. All right, guys. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that cleared up some of the ideas about the for loop. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the while loops. They're very similar to the for loops, but we're going to spread this out because I think this is getting a little bit long. All right, guys. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you are not in my class and you are watching this, thanks a lot. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're learning something. My students, you better be watching it. You better be watching these videos. Everything you need to know about the code that we're looking at in class is in these videos. All of the technical stuff is going to be in these videos. All right, guys, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.